Have you ever found yourself drawn to someone walking down the street, not because you wanted anything from them, not because you were turned on even, but simply because there was something about them that caught your eye? That's attraction. But what's interesting is that attraction isn't the same as desire, and neither of those are the same as arousal. And even if you have all three in a relationship, attraction, desire, and arousal, you still need to have compatibility to make it a good relationship. In this video, we're going to unpack the difference between the three powerful and often misunderstood forces, attraction, desire, and arousal, and how they can show up differently in men and women. We'll also talk about how all three play a role in creating peaceful and easy relationships, and why, even with all three, compatibility and lifestyle and values is still a major factor. By the end, you might start to see your past relationships and maybe even your current ones in a completely new light. Hi, my name is Aaran Solh, and I'm the founder of the Alchemy app for dating and connection. I'm also a love coach and counselor, and for the past 25 years, I've been helping people like you connect better to themselves and to others. Now let's dive in to the first of these three powerful forces that govern our love lives: attraction. Attraction is the draw. It's what grabs your attention. It could be physical, like facial features, the way someone moves, their voice, or it could be energetic. Sometimes we're attracted to someone because they feel familiar, or exciting, or totally mysterious. It's often immediate and intuitive. According to research in the field of evolutionary psychology, attraction is influenced by a combination of genetic, biological, and social factors. Studies have shown that we tend to be attracted to people whose facial symmetry signals good health and whose body language conveys confidence or openness. But attraction is also heavily shaped by culture and experience. For example, we often feel drawn to people who remind us of caregivers, past partners, or even ourselves. What psychologists call familiarity bias. Attraction isn't just instinct, it's also memory, association, and meaning all wrapped into one. And it originates on a very unconscious level. This is also why some people find themselves repeatedly attracted to people who aren't actually good for them. Attachment theory helps explain this. It suggests that our early relational experiences create templates for how we connect later in life. If those early bonds were marked by inconsistency, neglect, or emotional unavailability, we may unconsciously seek out similar dynamics, confusing them for love or safety. The pull can be intense, but it's not always healthy. Often, it's because what's familiar feels safe, even if that familiarity is rooted in early experiences of neglect or chaos. The unconscious mind associates these familiar dynamics with safety and even a feeling of home in some way, and the body responds accordingly. The good news is, this can change. Ask yourself, what familiar patterns do you tend to feel drawn to, and why? Through self-awareness, inner work, and practices that rewire your perceptions of what is attractive, you can actually start to feel drawn to people who are more emotionally available, kind, compatible, and secure. Attraction isn't fixed, it's malleable. And when you shift your relationship to your past and to yourself, you open the door to a whole new future in romantic love. So just because you're attracted to someone doesn't mean you want them. And even if you want them, it doesn't mean you're aroused by them. We'll dive into what that means in the next section. Meanwhile, take a minute to like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps us reach more people. Thanks. You might be drawn to someone's confidence, but not want to be in a relationship with them. You might be attracted to someone's mind, but not feel a single ounce of sexual chemistry. Attraction is multifaceted. It can be visual, emotional, intellectual, and even spiritual. But having attraction to someone doesn't mean you have a desire for them or that you feel aroused by them. And it certainly doesn't mean your practical lives are compatible or that you want the same kind of relationship right now. So, let's talk about arousal. Arousal is your body's physical response. It's not always about the person you're with. It could be about where you are, what you're thinking, or even what just happened in your day. Arousal can be spontaneous or responsive, and it can even feel inappropriate at times. There are many different factors that contribute to arousal. And even when you feel attraction and desire, you might not be able to feel aroused in a given moment. Things like nervousness, stress, emotional disconnection, or tension with your partner can completely shut down your body's ability to respond. This is completely normal for both men and women. At the same time, arousal can occur in situations where you don't feel any real attraction or desire for someone. It might be influenced by the environment, the presence of alcohol or intoxicants, or even just a feeling of loneliness and the impulse to connect. This is why arousal is its own distinct force. It's not always rational, and it doesn't always line up with what's truly healthy or aligned for you. That's why it's important to slow down and check in with yourself before acting on arousal. Is what you're feeling aligned with your values, with your long-term goals, with the kind of connection you want to build? Would you be acting from loneliness or a desire for validation if you follow this arousal? To build healthy relationships, it's important to learn to control your arousal and have internal values guide your actions rather than instinct. That said, if you simply want to explore arousal on its own, without needing it to be tied to attraction, desire, or relationship potential, that's totally okay too. The key is to do it consciously, without guilt or shame, to know your truth in the moment and honor it without bypassing your deeper needs. And now that we've explored the mystery of arousal, let's move into the terrain of desire, a force that often runs even deeper. Desire doesn't always arise from the body like arousal or from instinctive recognition like attraction. It's more personal, more intimate, and sometimes much more revealing. Desire is the feeling you have when you want to deeply connect and hold on to someone. It's the I want you feeling. But unlike attraction, it's not about being drawn to someone in the moment. It's the feeling of I want to build a life with you. It's a sensation that often precedes a proposal, moving in together, or even just asking somebody out on a date to build a long-term relationship. It's the recognition that a future with this person matches the imagined, most blissed out future you can imagine for yourself. Or might. Now take a moment to reflect. Can you remember a time when you felt this kind of desire? What about the person made you feel that way? And was it truly about them, or was it about how you felt in their presence? Was it about how you thought they fit in perfectly with your most beautiful fairy tale future? If you want, take a moment to pause the video and truly think about that. Now, desire reaches deeper than attraction or arousal. Psychologically, desire often stems from a mix of emotional resonance, feeling loved and valued, perceived compatibility, and the ability to grow together. According to research in affective neuroscience and attachment theory, we tend to desire people who mirror our core emotional needs, people who make us feel seen, valued, loved, and expanded. Unlike arousal, which is more tied to the body, or attraction, which can be instinctual or fleeting, desire builds over time and is largely relational. But just like attraction, desire isn't always a green light. Sometimes we feel a deep desire for someone because they echo unresolved experiences from our past, familiar dynamics that feel magnetic but may not actually be healthy. That's why it's important to pause and ask, am I desiring this person because I feel aligned and at peace with them, because I feel valued by them? Or am I drawn to a familiar pattern that might not serve my future self? You should also ask yourself if you're ignoring things about this person and trying to force them into a fantasy about what a long-term happy marriage looks like. Being honest with yourself and having clear and open conversations about it might spare you years of difficulty. Historically, this kind of desire is what marriage has been built on. But in today's world, the concept of marriage itself is evolving. We're recognizing that people change over decades, and the idea of locking into one model of commitment forever doesn't fit everyone. and certainly not at every stage of life. More and more, people are exploring alternative forms of commitment that will honor the depth of desire while allowing flexibility and honesty. But that's a larger conversation and one I'll get into in another video. For now, what matters is understanding that desire is its own powerful force, distinct from both attraction and arousal, and being able to recognize it for what it is can give you immense clarity in your relationships. While everyone experiences attraction, desire, and arousal, research suggests that there are some general trends in how these forces show up differently across genders. Let's start with arousal. Have you ever felt arousal without attraction or desire? What triggered it? For many women, arousal doesn't always come first, for example. It often follows an emotional connection or a sense of safety. According to studies on sexual response and arousal, women tend to experience what's called responsive desire more frequently. That means their arousal is triggered by feeling emotionally close, respected, or deeply seen, rather than by purely physical or visual cues. On the other hand, men more often experience what's known as spontaneous desire. A man might feel aroused just from visual stimulation or a passing thought, even without emotional connection or relationship context. This is why a man might see someone attractive and experience a strong physical reaction, but not actually want to engage or pursue a connection. Arousal and attraction might be present, but desire or emotional investment might not be. Women, conversely, can feel deeply attracted to someone and even feel strong emotional desire, but not experience physical arousal until later. In fact, research published in the Journal of Sex Research shows that for many women, physical arousal often lags behind emotional readiness. These tendencies aren't fixed or binary, of course. Everyone has a unique pattern, but understanding these differences can help us relate better to ourselves and each other. This is why attraction, desire, and arousal can sometimes feel mismatched or confusing. A woman might think, I want to be close to him, but I don't feel turned on right now. Or a man might wonder, why am I aroused but not actually interested in her? These questions are normal and they reflect just how independent these forces really are. Understanding how these elements interact differently across people and genders can help us make wiser, more compassionate choices. It allows us to step back, notice what's really going on inside us, and decide how we want to move forward. Not based on impulse, but based on clarity. That's why it's so important to understand. These three things, attraction, desire, and arousal, are not interchangeable. They are related, but they don't always show up together. And when they don't, it doesn't mean anything is wrong with you. It just means you're human. So now that we've explored how attraction, desire, and arousal function independently, and how they can manifest differently in men and women, it's time to bring all these insights into the practical world of real relationships. Because even when all these three forces are present, there's one more crucial element that determines whether a relationship can truly thrive: compatibility. And if you're interested in our full series of compatibility, you can access that completely free on the Alchemy platform. Use the link in the description to download the app. The most fulfilling partnerships tend to include all three factors: attraction, arousal, and desire. You want to feel attracted to your partner. You want to enjoy their presence, admire their mind, be drawn to their energy. You want to feel desire, not just for their body, but for their company, their support, the way you grow and you weave your lives together. And yes, you want to feel aroused, not necessarily in every moment, but enough to feel that spark of aliveness when you touch, when you flirt, and when you're close. But even if you have all three, attraction, desire, and arousal, that's not enough for a sustainable relationship. You also need compatibility. You need aligned values, mutual respect, and shared goals. You need to want similar things from life and love. Because arousal can fade, desire can wax and wane, attraction can shift over time, but compatibility, that's what builds a true foundation. So what does compatibility really mean? It goes far beyond just sharing hobbies or liking the same music. True compatibility happens on multiple levels, emotional, intellectual, spiritual, practical, and even energetic. It's about how your nervous systems respond to each other, how your communication styles match, how your values align, how your visions for the future fit together, and if they don't, your willingness to learn and adapt to each other. But to truly understand compatibility with another person, you first need to understand yourself. You have to be able to answer questions like, what are your core needs in a relationship? What kind of lifestyle, intimacy, and personal growth are you looking for? What kind of living space do you want to share? What kind of family life do you want to have or not have? It's also okay not to know and to be willing to build that together with a partner when you meet them. You just have to know what's true for you. Once you understand some of these core things about yourself, that's when you can begin to observe how someone else aligns or doesn't with that. Do you feel safe around them? Do you feel seen? Are your life rhythms and goals harmonious, or are you always pulling in different directions? And here's the deeper truth. There isn't just one kind of compatibility. Sometimes we feel a deep emotional bond with someone that makes us want to build a life together. Other times, the compatibility may be intellectual or creative. We might thrive together on certain projects or ideas, but may not be well suited romantically. Being open to different types of connection allows us to relate more authentically and avoid trying to force someone into a role they're not meant to fill and can't. That's why learning to recognize how attraction, desire, and arousal show up for you and how they align or don't with the different types of compatibility is so important. For example, you might be physically attracted and emotionally desiring of someone, but your long-term goals are totally different. Or you might not feel strong attraction or arousal, but share a deep emotional compatibility that could flourish in a unique and powerful relationship. But here's a word of warning. If you look for a reason you're not compatible with someone, you'll always find one. And if you do, make sure it isn't a fear of intimacy or a fear of rejection that's making you fixate on it. Finding someone with 100% compatibility and strong arousal, desire, and attraction is probably a fantasy. It might be something you can build over time, but it's not something you're going to have right off the bat. In reality, you should look for someone with whom you have 70 to 80% compatibility, and then you work together to make the remaining 20-30% work so the relationship is satisfying. As long as that 30% doesn't include real deal breakers, you're lucky. You've found a fit many people never actually get. When that shows up in your life, do the work to hold on to it. It's beautiful. And of course, if you found this video helpful, check out our free course on compatibility in relationships. You'll find it on the Alchemy app. The link is in the description. See you there.